Let's talk about the glorious East and their car companies. Honda, a company that made one of the most legendary cars that's ever been produced, the Honda NSX. It didn't just enter the supercar world, it stormed in. But before I continue, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications for our channel, as this really helps us grow. All done? Good. The 1980s. Great time to be alive. Honda was already crushing it in the world of reliable, fuel-efficient cars. I mean, if you didn't know someone with a Civic or an Accord, were you even living on this planet? But these guys had their eyes set on a whole different league. They wanted to take on the big boys. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, and do it the Honda way. So, in 1984, Honda just launched the NSX project. The name? New Sports Car Experimental. I know, even from the name of this project, we can expect something mind-boggling. I guess, in some way, this car was pretty much like a science experiment. This car was a completely new take on what a sports vehicle could be. Ferrari-level performance, cool design, comfortability at its highest. You name it. And who better to help them with this ambitious dream than the masters of sleek design? The Italian company Pininfarina. The same folks who designed Ferrari legends like the F40, aerodynamics, and the F16 inspiration. So what's the components of the NSX greatness, you'll ask? And I will tell you. First of all, the inspiration. I remember, as someone wise once said, I'm only looking up to the sky. And so Honda guys did the same thing. Literally. They took a page from the playbook of the F16 fighter jet. With its wraparound canopy and insane visibility, the F16 gave Honda a wild idea. What if we could give drivers the same panoramic view from behind the wheel? The result, you ask? A low, wide car where you didn't feel like you were sitting in a bunker with tiny windows. But the NSX wasn't just about looking cool, though it absolutely did in my opinion. I'm also talking about mind-blowing aerodynamics, another important factor. It's truly state-of-the-art. Every curve and angle on this thing were carefully sculpted for one purpose: speed and stability. All about fine-tuning the shape to cut through the air like a knife through butter. I find the sleek design kept the NSX glued to the road, even when you were pushing speeds. Third, of course, I can't forget about the mid-engine layout. Its purpose meant Honda put the engine right in the middle of the car, like they were balancing a pair of dumbbells. This gave the NSX perfect weight distribution, making it handle corners with the grace of a ballerina and the precision of a scalpel. Let's stop on the engineering innovation of Honda, guys. The real heartbeat of this car? I'll put it simply. Honda was straight there to break molds. The NSX was the world's first production car to boast an all-aluminum monocoque chassis. I know. Sounds fancy, right? Aluminum is a difficult material to work with, and the geniuses at Honda did a great job working with the body of NSX. Whole lot of welding and replacing were involved, but Honda, being Honda, cracked the code once again. With NSX being so light, Honda didn't need to stuff a massive V8 or V12 under the hood. While other supercars were running around with heavy, gas-guzzling engines, Honda took a different approach. Japanese wisdom at its best, if you ask me. They slid in a 3-liter V6 engine that packed 270 horsepower. Now, 270 might not sound like a lot by today's standards, but back in the early 90s, that was like fast. I guess not NASCAR type fast, but certainly way above average for a civil car you'll usually see on the streets. Let's talk about VTEC system. For my tech nerds out there, variable valve timing and lift electronic control. The VTEC system gave the NSX dual personalities, smooth and efficient at low speeds, but fierce when revved up. It allowed the engine to reach an 8,300 RPM red line, a rarity in road cars back then. Honda also added racing-grade components like titanium rods, and even had F1 legend Ayrton Senna test the car, pushing it to perfection. At the time, legendary Senna was dominating Formula 1 for McLaren, with a Honda engine powering his car. So, naturally, Honda asked him to take the NSX prototype for a spin around Japan's legendary Suzuka circuit. I know, it's a collaboration of the century for a racing world, and here's where I personally find things get interesting. Senna, the guy who could drive circles around competition blindfolded, was impressed, but not entirely sold. His verdict? The chassis wasn't stiff enough. Simple as that. I bet most car companies would have been like, hey Ayrton, buddy, this thing's already miles ahead of anything else on the road. How stiff do you want it? But Honda, they weren't most companies. When a 3-time world champion tells you to up your game, you listen. And you listen good. So, square one all over again, I guess. Back to the drawing board they went. After Senna's critique, Honda engineers cranked up the chassis stiffness by a whopping 50%. And the result was great. The NSX became sharper, more responsive, and even more of a track weapon. I mean, how far can you go with this? By 1990, the NSX was ready to make its grand debut. And boy, did it make some noise. When Honda pulled the covers off this thing, the automotive world collectively picked its jaw up off the floor. Here was a car that looked like a Ferrari, handled like a Porsche, and was as reliable as well, I guess, as the modern and older models of Honda Civic. Supercar lovers everywhere were scratching their heads. Wait, we can have performance and reliability? Yeah, buddy. I should talk numbers for a sec. 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds, with a top speed of 170 miles per hour. I know, that's fast. But I think the real magic of the NSX consists of how easy it made being fast. While most supercars of the time were like wrestling a grizzly bear, especially at lower speeds, speeds, the NSX was smooth and balanced. When the NSX hit the market, it was met with rave reviews. Selling for around $60,000 to $65,000, it was a supercar that didn't demand a second mortgage and could actually compete with the best of the best. The NSX offered high performance, comfort, and reliability all in one. In the 90s, the heads of Honda thought about the upgrade. I'll take you to 1995 and the NSX T. T for Targa. I remember that in North America, its removable roof became a standard feature, and for drivers who wanted that open-air thrill, it added a whole new layer of excitement. Sure, to make the roof removable, Honda had to bulk up the car's frame a bit, which added about 45 kilograms. But hey, what's a little extra weight when you can cruise with the top down? In my opinion, it is the case when extra weight won't hurt nobody, not your girlfriend, not you. Win-win situation, and the market took to it with a big smile. Continuing with modernization and upgrading, in 1997, Honda decided it was time to give the NSX a bit more muscle. Enter the 3.2-liter V6, pumping out 290 horsepower because they can. Who says you can't have more power and still be refined? I definitely didn't. With a 6-speed manual transmission, the updated NSX could hit 0 to 60 in a blistering 4.6 seconds, firmly planting it in supercar territory. Coming right up, Honda's stumbling block, a controversial facelift and racing success. I guess in all of the great stories of success, there's a fly in the ointment, and Honda is no exception. In 2001, Honda decided it was time for the NSX to get a bit of a makeover. Here's where things get a little spicy. They replaced the beloved pop-up headlights with fixed ones, and just like that, the fan base was split. Boom! There is no limit to perfection, I think. Some thought the new headlights gave it a sleeker, more modern look, while others felt like Honda had messed with the classic. Those pop-up headlights were iconic after all. For me, it's like giving the Mona Lisa a pair of sunglasses. Cool, sure, but you're gonna hear about it. Love it or hate it, the facelift didn't slow the NSX down one bit. In fact, in 2002, Honda decided to flex at the almighty Nürburgring. They clocked an impressive lap time of 7 minutes and 56 seconds, putting it on par with the Ferrari F360, one of the top dogs of the time. You heard me right? Our humble Honda was trading blows on track with the best Italy had to offer. For its time, I should say the NSX was a very serious competitor. This car showed up to the race with a V6 engine and a Honda badge, but it left with the respect of the entire supercar world. Over the years, and as the industry evolved and new challengers appeared, the NSX stayed right in the mix, proving time and again that you didn't need a fire-breathing V12 or something exotic and fancy to be considered a true supercar contender. Like all legends, the NSX's first chapter had to close, and in 2005, Honda made the tough call to pull the plug. It was a bit of a bold move from a company, if you ask me. I guess sales made the difference after all. They were slipping. Honda was eyeing new horizons, focusing on eco-friendlier tech and emerging markets. But in classic, you don't know what you've got till it's gone fashion. As soon as the NSX disappeared, everyone wanted one. The pre-owned market exploded. The price was up to $100,000 to some of the models. I wanted to have one too. But while production may have stopped, the NSX's legacy was far from over. I think at this point, media and cinematography made a difference. 2011 brought whispers of a comeback, and those whispers turned into roars when an NSX showed up in The Avengers, with none other than Iron Man behind the wheel. That cameo, along with the killer Super Bowl ad in 2012, reignited the NSX flame, proving that this was a cultural icon. And the car itself made it to the notorious Fast and Furious. In which exact film, though? Try and impress me and let me know in the comments about this. You know how it goes. The groundwork was laid for the NSX's triumphant return. The fans couldn't wait to see what Honda had in store for them. So, I should open up a new page of history of this great car for you. It's 2015. Enter the second generation NSX, a car that looked, in my opinion, like it came from the future, and for good reason. I'll name it for you. Under the hood of this beast packed a hybrid electric powertrain, a twin-turbo V6, and an all-wheel drive system so advanced it felt like the car could read your mind, with a jaw-dropping 573 horsepower, of course. The new NSX, well, had put on some weight compared to its older version. Again, this fatty had it in over 4,000 pounds. Sure, it was quick, with all that hybrid wizardry and turbo power, but it was also different. And again, there was a split in the fan base. For some, as well as for me, the NSX had always been about simplicity, lightweight design, and a kind of raw purity that made it a driver's car. The new NSX was a marvel of technology, but to my taste, it seemed to lose a little of its old-school soul. I'm not trying to say it wasn't a technical knockout, though. It's basically Honda's answer to a rapidly changing automotive landscape, one where hybrids and electric power were taking the wheel. The second-gen NSX showed that Honda still had the innovation chops, but it just didn't hit the same emotional high notes of the original. And in between 2016 and 2019, only around 1,200 new NSXs found homes worldwide, a far cry from the hype that had surrounded its rebirth. The facts speak louder than the nostalgia, I guess. Why can't a supercar be reliable and easy to drive? Asked the world. And Honda replied with a reliable, comfortable, and fast NSX. Brands all across the world had to adapt, as Honda dictated them new rules of the game. So let me know, which exact moment of the NSX was your favorite? And don't forget to smash that like button and hit the notifications. Until next time, keep your engines revving and your passion for cars alive.